Hello and welcome to the Pop Culture Powerhouses. We have got
Mm.
two lovable little guys this week, and no, I do not mean me and Horizontal. We've got Pikachu versus Grogu. Pikachu, of course, from Pokemon fandom universe, and Grogu from Star Wars. It's an interesting one for us because these are both well within the nerdum wheelhouse, but we've never really had a reason to get involved with these two characters so much. So this should be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously discussed Grogu when we've talked about the Mandalorian show, and there's been new episodes. But I mean, Pikachu, obviously, we haven't. The closest we've ever touched on Pikachu on this podcast is probably talking about Power World.
Yeah.
And now that I've said both of those things in the same video, it's probably going to get struck by
Yeah.
Nintendo. But
Hey
yeah,
Nintendo.
it's such a random combination, but also at the
Oh,
same time, they
sure.
kind of feel like they fit so well together.
Yeah. They are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean,
as always, we have got our 6 categories that help us pit these adorable little dudes against each other.
yes, we do.
We've got iconicness, individuality, quality of adaptations, legacy, relatability, and personal preference. Now, before we actually get into any of the categories, there could be an argument made that Grogu is the newer generation's equivalent of their cute little guy that everyone wishes they had one of. Because for us, it is everyone our age wishes they had a Pokemon. Not necessarily
Yeah,
Pikachu, but we all wanted a Pokemon. But I feel like Pokemon, although it has resurged in the last few years, it's resurged with the adults who were fans as kids more than the new generation of kids.
I
Whereas
think there's,
Grogu's recent.
yeah, I definitely think there's new kids that are into Pokemon.
Of
It's just,
course.
I think the fact that like Pikachu is now retired, with Ash, it's kind of like they'll have a different Pokemon that they kind of are so hooked on.
Absolutely.
But I get where you're coming from, with
Um,
Grogu.
Iconicness.
Yeah.
I mean, Pikachu is like the face of Pokemon.
Mm, that's what I was gonna say, like, of when you literally think of, I feel like there's two Pokemon that are like the most iconic for that franchise, with Pikachu being number one and Charizard being like number two.
Okay, so I've literally just Googled Pokemon and gone onto images.
Uh-huh.
I've got the Pokemon logo, Pikachu wearing a captain's hat, Pikachu, Pikachu, Eevee, Pikachu and Ash, Pikachu, Ash, Brick, and what's the girl called?
Brock and Misty.
Yeah, Brock and Misty, not Brick. Then we've got Sylveon, and then it just goes into like massive
Mm,
posters of loads of Pokemon.
mhm.
Like, it's Pikachu. He is just the dude.
Well, yeah.
Charizard is right up there as well because yeah, he's the massive dragon dude that everyone wishes they had because it's a fucking dragon,
Mm.
and we were 11 years old, 10 years old when we got introduced to him. Like, come on now.
But yeah, you're right. Ash and Pikachu became the face of Pokemon, and especially just Pikachu, and they used him as that. Like they used him in marketing in that way. So, go on.
Do you know what I remember when I think of just like the craze that is Pikachu?
Mm,
When Pokemon Go first launched,
mm,
I was on a summer, I guess camp is the best way to describe it. It was called NCS. It's where you do like 6 weeks doing different things and you get essentially like a national credit or something. It's fucking weird, but parents wanted me out of the house and loads of friends were doing it, so who gave a fuck? And we were up at Loughborough for the week.
mm-hmm.
And one of the people there had an Australian iTunes account,
That's
or
what.
sorry,
Okay.
Apple account,
Okay.
which meant they could download it
Mm-hmm.
3 whole days before it was supposed to be available in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So they would log into everyone's phones, download it, and then log out, and then we all had it. And then you had us all Googling stuff. And we're like, oh, at the beginning, when it gives you the 3 starter ones, if you ignore them and just walk, eventually it will spawn Pikachu in and you can get Pikachu. So instead of us choosing a starter Pokemon, we all just started running away from our starter Pokemon until it spawned Pikachu. Like, this is what
It's
we're
so
talking about, guys.
yeah,
Like, it's
it's
craziness. There's levels.
there is, and I mean, we grew up watching the show, and it was like Ash and Pikachu are the face of that. Like, he is the whole brand.
Yeah.
Grogu, some probably don't even know he's called Grogu. Some probably just
No.
know him still to this day as Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Grogu is a really interesting one because he's without a doubt a pop culture powerhouse,
Hmm.
but he's not been around long enough
No, he's like the new
to
age
know his
face.
staying power.
Yes.
Because I know for a fact they're selling them Grogu plushie toys like hotcakes even now.
Hmm.
But is that just because you've got a lot of kids who are like, that thing's fucking cute, and a bunch of dads going, hey, it's like Yoda. That's cool. Now my kid will like Star Wars and I'll have someone to watch Star Wars with me.
It
Like,
it's yeah, Grogu's become the iconic face of the new age of Star Wars. From like end of the original trilogy, the timeline gap where we've had Mando, Ahsoka, the sequels. He's become kind of
see,
the iconic face of that.
every era of Star Wars needs multiple very cute, huggable aliens.
Yes.
So we had Ewoks, Yoda,
Mhm.
Chewbacca. We've had R2D2, C3PO. Loads of just weird little aliens that you just want to just squeeze and cuddle. You had the what they called the Pogu in the new trilogy.
Oh yeah.
You've got Grogu. There's just every single time there's a new Star Wars thing. There are a bunch of people who watch the trailer and go, "That cute thing right there is now on the list of things that we just have to love no matter what because it's cute." I'm fine with this. I'm not shitting on the Star
No.
Wars fandom for this. It's actually one of my favorite things about the Star Wars fandom, seeing what random species that we've not really seen before. They're like, that is now on the cute list. Everyone be nice.
It's always so funny as well because Star Wars does it's like Ewoks is like, oh my god, these are adorable. Oh my god, they are murdering little terrors. And
Yes.
then Grogu is like, oh my god, he's adorable. Oh my god, he's such a badass with the Force without realizing.
Yes. It's so good. Um, I think Iconicness goes to Pikachu just because he's been around. We've been able to test that staying power. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and straight away you say Pokemon, people are going to think of Pikachu. You say Star
Yeah.
Wars and don't necessarily think of Grogu.
Probably no one does. Individuality. I mean, is Pikachu not like famously like rare Pokemon? He's like,
He's well, yeah, he's the only one that didn't, isn't it? It's what is it? It's the only Pikachu to purposefully not let itself evolve or something.
yeah, he
I
like
th-
stopped himself from evolving.
yeah, which makes him like the most powerful
Yeah,
Pikachu.
he stopped evolution.
Like all Pikachu usually evolve when they get to a certain power. He just kept getting stronger, but didn't let himself evolve. Like, yeah, he is
Yeah,
the most iconic Pikachu as a Pokemon.
mm.
Um,
And it's funny because when you say Charizard, you don't think of a specific Charizard. When you say Pikachu, you think of the Pikachu. You think of Ash's Pikachu.
yeah,
And like that's the difference here.
I feel like the only other like Pokemon in my head that is like like individual compared to its other same Pokemon is Meowth because it can speak.
Yes. As like
Um,
what is it? The Team Rocket's Meowth.
yeah, it's the only one
Yeah.
that can speak English, and it's
Yeah.
like so like it's in the same realm as that. Like it's a very unique Pikachu, which makes it incredibly individual.
Yeah.
Um, Grogu, I mean, he's pretty individual still because he's the second of he's the only like there's only two of us of this creature
I
type
mean,
that we know.
It's an incredibly rare species, and he's also going to be the second Jedi Mandalorian.
Yes. Oh yeah, but
Like,
yeah.
on the surface, he's not very unique because you're like, oh, it's Baby Yoda.
Mm,
Get to know the character. My God, this little fucking thing somehow survived Order 66, then survived the remnants of the Empire, then got
mhm.
adopted by a Mandalorian who was like a super extremist Mandalorian. Bearing in mind the Mandalorian's feelings about Jedi, they still protected him. He
Yeah.
went and trained under Luke Skywalker
Mhm.
before returning to his father and starting to train to become a Mandalorian.
It's pretty individual.
Like, forgetting how cute he is and how fun Mandalorian story is. I hope at the end of Mandalorian we don't lose out on the rest of Grogu's story, because there is a really cool story to be told there. Really rare species becomes a Mandalorian and a Jedi
Mm.
is just awesome.
It's tough there because, like you said, they both have very like both of them aren't the only one of their species, if you look at it that way with Pokemon, but both are very unique in their specific,
Yes.
which makes
Yes.
them very individual.
I would argue that original trilogy Yoda is not as compelling a character as Grogu in The Mandalorian. It's only once you get to add in the prequels
Yeah,
and the Clone Wars that Yoda becomes as compelling a character as he
yeah,
is.
agree.
Quality of adaptations. So this is what? Oh, you got all the Pokemon games where he appears. I mean, Pikachu's a
Well,
very
here's
consistent,
the thing:
very consistent.
do we class the original medium of Pokemon being the trading cards?
Yes, but that quality of adaptation is inherently perfect because you can't mess up their character.
Exactly. So, if anything, every adaptation is an improvement because it adds more.
Well, I mean, we're also, I think, although we said Pikachu, we are explicitly talking about Ash's Pikachu because that's the iconic one.
True. So, in which case, it's the show.
Yeah,
And I mean, he's shown up in games.
yeah, he's consistently dope. Like, he's the cute little mouse dude that sneezes lightning bolts. What do you want from me?
And then cries for Ash to bring him back to
Yeah,
life.
he's just like, that's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
Yeah,
Like,
so in which case, like you look at, I'm sure there's a card that is named Ash's Pikachu, and then
well,
it's like
like when I think of like
the
the
films.
iconic Pikachu trading card, I think of the Illustrator card, which is worth fuck knows how
True,
much in
yeah.
it. It's it. I just want to double check that. I'm right in thinking, yeah, Pikachu Illustrator card that's worth multiple millions because it's in the original Japanese, and Logan Paul put it on a necklace to wrestle in the WWE, and
But I would say every adaptation of Pokemon, bar like some games not being as good as other games, but in general, all the games have been great if you take them as a collective.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's been like any comics or books, been mangas made.
Well, I actually don't know. I'd be surprised if there wasn't.
Um, I mean, films you could take as a separate one. The Pokemon films are good.
Yeah, Pokemon manga does exist.
Oh, there you go.
That's
I would.
that's what the cartoon is based off of,
Oh,
and it's
okay.
still
There you
going
go then.
to this day.
So then, in which case, manga's probably original Ash's Pikachu, and the cartoon
Yes,
is
it would
great as
be.
well. So
Yeah, I'd say the quality of adaptation is stunningly good.
yeah, across the board.
That's how he became iconic. That's how Ash's Pikachu is so iconic because of the quality of the adaptations.
Grogu, I mean, he only exists in Mando.
Yeah, he is just as good an adaptation library as Pikachu, but he's not had as many opportunities to fuck his library up.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a smaller sample. You got 3 seasons of Grogu, and he's great in all of them. Cool.
Yeah. Well, 3.5 if you
Um,
include Book of Boba Fett.
yes. Legacy.
Ooh. I mean,
Grogu has a legacy. He does already. But it's quite a weird legacy for like pop culture powerhouses because
it's just so
his
young.
legacy is, yeah, his legacy is still forming. We've not got all of his story yet, so we don't know where it's going. But already he's like in the conversation. That's what's most impressive about him. He's in the conversation already.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at, like, we talk often in the podcast about the story that's going on with Star Wars and fixing this whole like Palpatine thing, he is already a part of that,
A very large part of that.
which comes with his legacy of being a part of this overarching story that actually was going on in Star Wars that's being built out. So he holds quite an important part in the Star Wars story.
Absolutely, he does. Um, Pikachu, I don't even know how you put into a quantifiable way his legacy. Um, I think for a lot of people, Pikachu is the reason they even gave Pokemon a chance. Everyone knows Pikachu. Even people who
Yeah.
don't know Pokemon would recognize him. Even if
Hmm.
they don't necessarily know it's Pikachu, they'd be like, I've seen that animated animal before.
Yeah.
Which I mean is incredibly impressive in a day and age when people like don't know so many pop culture icons. Like if we
Mm.
were to look at other mediums or like Queen and stuff who are absolutely pop culture icons, you'll have a lot of people who know their music but don't know anything about the band of Queen.
Yeah.
Whereas I would be confident you show anyone a picture of Pikachu, they would have at least a hint of knowing in their eye, even if they don't realise they know.
Yeah. I mean, or they'd be like, oh, isn't that Pokemon thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Um,
his legacy is, I mean, we all fell in love with him in the show, into the movies. It got people into wanting to play the games, collecting the cards. Like, there is essentially most people that fell in love with that franchise is potentially due to Ash and Pikachu's kind of chemistry in those first few episodes that people watched.
absolutely. Relatability. I think I fall more on Grogu's side here.
Yeah, I can't say I really relate to being trapped in a little ball
Yeah, here's the thing.
or being like someone's
Pikachu isn't
pet.
Pikachu isn't even remotely supposed to be like an emotive character. You're supposed to view Pikachu more as a pet.
Yeah,
He's Ash's dog. Is like
yeah,
kind of the vibe you're supposed to get. Whereas Grogu is kind of this constant battle between what people want you to be, what you want to be,
mm,
the pressures put on you when you don't even know what you want to be.
yeah. I would agree. I mean, out of the two of them, like you say, Pikachu is Ash's pet essentially.
Yeah,
It's the relatability there is that if you have a dog, you're like, oh, I feel the same way about my dog as I can see Ash feels about
exactly.
Pikachu. Like, you can relate to it in that sense. Grogu, I mean, yeah, he's someone that is young in terms of his species, but has lived a lot, and we've seen him dealing with that and dealing with was once a youngling Jedi, then went through like capture. Now he's becoming a Mandalorian. He was being trained, but decided he didn't want that and making his own decisions. This
It's
idea of you're stuck in a bigger picture, but you're still trying to control your own sort of story.
well, it's really funny. And I know that obviously we're not space wizards. Like life is not that complicated.
Damn it!
But I know you're old, Horry. But even you remember having to choose your. Were they still GCSEs for you, or were they O levels?
Yes, there were still GCSEs for me.
We kid. Horry's very young and youthful. But like when you're getting ready to choose your GCSE options on top of your
Mm.
mandatory ones, it feels just like this big decision. It's like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you're like, I just I just don't want to have to worry about money yet. Like, what? Why at the age of
Just want to
15
go
am
home
I
and play
having to?
COD.
Yeah, why at the age of like 15 am I being asked to make decisions that
Mm,
go the way it's being addressed to me control my entire
yeah.
trajectory throughout life? And yeah, obviously it's still vastly different, but there's there's similarities within that. Like when Grogu's been given to Luke, Luke's like, okay, you can go back and be a Mandalorian, or you have to give up everything you've ever known and make. It's like the kid can't speak yet,
Mm,
and you're asking him to decide whether he wants to be a Jedi or Mandalorian, and this decision's for life.
hmm
Like,
Yeah, it's a bit extreme.
let's like that's relatable. Um,
Yeah,
so I
I
think
agree.
Grogu edges that out just because like I'm not my dog, so I don't find Pikachu personally relatable.
Yeah, I would agree there.
Personal preference.
On
Mm,
on the original movie alone, I lean Pikachu.
the problem is, for me, just as I'm more of a comic book person than a Star Wars person, I'm more of a Star Wars person than a Pokemon person.
Ah, see, I play
And
Pokemon
I
Red.
mean, it's personal preference. I don't really need to defend my feelings there. But I feel
Yeah.
like as a result of that, I kind of lean more towards Grogu.
See, I am definitely more of a. I love Star Wars, but I think the difference to me is like Grogu is very new.
Yeah,
He's not
absolutely.
at the top of my list of Star Wars characters. Pikachu is like my childhood watching Pokemon. So,
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely fair. I think if I was a little bit more of a Pokemon kid growing up, I probably would be the exact same.
mm,
But it was always kind of tertiary. I knew what was going on, but I didn't lose my mind caring. I didn't grow up in like a Nintendo house where there was always Nintendo consoles about and stuff, which
mm.
meant I played less Pokemon. Um, so my personal preference probably would be Grogu. Um, but let's tot it up. Only one cutie can win. Um, Iconicness is without a doubt Pikachu.
Pikachu, yeah,
He
for
stood the
sure.
test of time. Individuality.
I feel like it's so tough. I feel like I lean to Grogu slightly, but then maybe I'm like, is it a draw?
Do you know what I think it is? Grogu is inherently quite unique because yeah, there's not many of his species, but he's also very different from the ones we've met.
Mm-hmm.
Pikachu, I don't think was supposed to be a mega rare species, but they wanted to make Pikachu feel more special by
They just
making
kept
him
running with
rare.
them. Yeah. I feel like it built up over time.
Yeah. I think I would call this a draw
I'm okay with that.
because I feel like they artificially made Pikachu unique by refusing to make other of
Yeah,
the
by
same
decisions along
species.
the story of
Yeah. Whereas
yeah.
Grogu was unique from his inception.
Yeah.
Quality of adaptations, I lean towards Pikachu just because of the wider breadth of
Yeah,
adaptations.
I would agree that there's not enough of Grogu's story. Yeah.
Exactly. Legacy, Pikachu.
Yeah.
Um, he's the goat. Relatability, I go Grogu.
I would agree there. Yeah,
I don't think any human can relate to Pikachu.
no.
And if you can, maybe seek help because you might be being abused. Whereas Grogu, I feel like some of the arcs he's gone through are semi-relatable to a real-world application.
Yeah.
And then personal preference, we're calling a draw.
Yeah, because I was Pikachu and you were Grogu.
Right, so 1-0 Pikachu on Iconicness.
Mm.
We called it a draw in individuality.
Yes.
1-0 Pikachu. Quality, 2-0
2-0
Pikachu.
Pikachu.
Legacy, 3-0
3-0.
Pikachu. Relatability, 3-1.
Yep.
Personal preference, 3-1. So there we
Yep.
go. I think that was a good showing from Grogu.
Yeah. For someone
against
who
a much larger uncle.
for someone who's only like a few years old versus someone who's a few decades old.
Yeah, when did Mando season 1 come out?
I want to say like 2018, 2019, maybe.
If I
2019
can get the
is my guess.
November 12th, 2019. So yeah, it's like 4 years old.
Yeah.
Crazy. But yeah, so that is it. We have another pop culture powerhouse in the books. Pikachu is more of a pop culture powerhouse. I bet no one who clicked on this title clicked on it angrily thinking, how dare you compare Grogu to Pikachu? Because you are all well-adjusted people who can listen to things without taking it to
I'm
heart.
sure there's one fan out there that's going to be like, Pikachu overrated. Grogu is the way.
But that is it from us this week. We will, of
Yes.
course, be back again next week. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.
See you in the next one.